Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This week was registration for Marathon Weekend 2021, and congratulations to everyone that registered, whether you're running the 5K, 10K, half or full, or even going for one of the challenges such as Goofy or Dopey. I actually ran the Dopey Challenge this year and had such an incredible experience that I wanted to share with you all and also give you some tips for how to not only survive, but thrive during this weekend. So I'll share my tips in 4 different sections: training, what to do the week before, the week of, and then also surviving the transition from the half marathon to the full marathon. So I hope you find these tips helpful. If you have any questions, just be sure to leave a comment below. And let's get into the tips. So starting with training starts now. I actually started training in the summer of 2019, which some people would think that is a little bit too early, but I wanted to make sure that I was really well trained and was actually going to be able to enjoy my experience rather than just survive through it. So I actually decided to work through Hal Higdon's training plans. I started off with his half marathon training plan, which was a 12-week plan that actually started off with, I think it was about 3 miles or so, and led you straight to the half marathon distance. I thought that was a really great plan, and it really helped me get very familiar with how my body likes to run and also familiar with the half marathon distance. Once I was done with the Hal Higdon half marathon training, I then moved on and transitioned to the Dopey plan. So that was in September of 2019, and so by September I was able to run comfortably a half marathon. So that was my sort of signal that I was ready to move on to this more challenging Dopey plan. So as I mentioned, I started the Dopey training plan in September of 2019, and that was an 18-week plan, which also included the holidays, which I'll get to in just a moment. So the Hal Higdon Dopey Challenge plan is not for the faint of heart. It assumes that you are able to run a half marathon distance comfortably, and it actually starts with the first week with a 13-mile run. So if you are not fully comfortable with the half marathon distance, I suggest that you start with the half marathon training plan and work your way up to the Dopey plan, which is why, again, I say training starts now. So as I worked through Hal Higdon's Dopey training plan, I ran 4 half marathon races in addition to other races that were of shorter distance. For my proof of time, I actually ran a 12K race. I felt really good that day and I had a great race, and so I was able to submit that as my proof of time, and that landed me in Corral D. Overall, I really did enjoy Hal Higdon's training plan. I think it is challenging, so if you are not fully confident in your ability to run long distances over multiple days, again, I would suggest that you start now, work your way up slowly, or even consider one of the other training plans such as Galloway, and I know there are a few others out there as well. So as with all training plans, long runs are really important, but what I really appreciated about Hal Higdon's plan was his emphasis on running on tired legs. So that means running back-to-back days. Once you've already run, let's say 3 to 5 miles one day, you'll have the same 3 to 5 miles or even more distance the next day. That was really challenging for me at first because I wasn't used to it, but I think that really set me up for the long term and to be able to finish Dopey with a smile on my face and still being able to walk afterwards. So definitely make sure that you are getting in some back-to-back runs, run on tired legs, and just encourage your body to continue moving day after day. So my 4th tip is to test everything. This is a really, really great opportunity to test absolutely everything. So that is your clothes. What type of material do you like? Your shoes. Do you like a thicker sole? Do you want something that's thinner and more race ready? Your hydration, your nutrition, what makes you feel good, what gives you energy. So this is a really great time to figure out what you'll be bringing with you on race day and what you should be avoiding during that race week. So my next tip is in regard to running during the holidays. I think this was probably one of the most difficult things to do during Dopey is you're finally into your longer distances, you're feeling really good, and then the holidays hit. Thanksgiving, Christmas, or whatever you celebrate, your friends and family are getting together, there's large meals involved, so how do you make sure that your training is also matching up with the amount of time that you're spending with your friends and family? So what I would suggest is to sign up for these fun holiday races. Do a turkey trot, do a Santa run. I loved signing up for these. My friends and family actually wanted to do these races with me, so it really helps to have something on the calendar, have something that you can involve all of your friends and family, and also gets you your mileage for that week. My next tip for you all is to change up your environment. It's really easy just to get in a rut and to run the exact same route that you do every other day, but you're going to be running so many miles and you don't want to get bored. So make sure you're changing up your environment. If you always run on a road or a sidewalk, try running in grass. Try doing maybe a trail run if you have a trail nearby. Not only is that helpful just for your own psyche to have something else and new to look at, but it's also really helpful for your body. I noticed a really big difference in changing from running on a sidewalk to running on a local trail that I have. So that was really beneficial for my knees. And again, we're running so many miles in preparation for these races. So you want to make sure that you're in tip-top shape and not hurting yourself before marathon weekend. Okay, so the next section is the week before. You've done all of your training, you've made it through the holidays. Congratulations! Now we are 1 week away from marathon weekend. So this is a really important time to make sure that you check the weather, that you are packing for the appropriate weather, but also you are prepared for anything that could happen. So this past year in Marathon Weekend 2020, the 5K and the 10K were both cooler days. They were very comfortable. I actually wore gloves the morning of the 5K because it was a little bit chilly. But once we made it to the half marathon and especially the full marathon, we were in full Florida sun. So we were extremely hot the morning of the marathon. I know a lot of people have covered that as well. You'll see a lot of photos of people dumping ice over their heads. I was definitely one of them. But you want to make sure that you're prepared for any kind of weather that could happen. So what I did was I brought shorts, but also a pair of leggings for each different outfit that I had. So if I was wearing, let's say, black shorts, then I made sure that I had black shorts, but also black leggings. So if it were colder that day, then I was able just to wear the leggings or vice versa. Same thing for your top. So you want to make sure that you have short sleeves, tank tops, but also long sleeves and maybe even a sweater. My next tip is for you to bring multiple shoes. So again, this sort of goes back into your training, but you should now know which shoes that you want to run in, which ones are most comfortable for you. So bringing multiple shoes is really important for a couple different reasons. But for me, I really enjoyed being able to switch out my shoes during the different days of marathon weekend. So for example, I wore the same pair of shoes during the 5K and the half marathon. And then I wore a different pair of shoes during the 10K and the full marathon. So during my training, I identified that Hoka's were really great for me. And so I bought 2 different pair and I was able to bring and wear both of those and be able to just change them out throughout the race. And I never had any sort of shoe issue or even toenail issue. So I definitely highly suggest that you bring multiple pair of shoes during the race weekend. Also bring an extra luggage bag or just a smaller carry-on for you to bring all of your merch back from marathon weekend. So even if you're not a big shopper, you're gonna come home with 6 of these and 6 t-shirts. So that's already a lot more than what you actually came to marathon weekend with. So be sure that you bring even just a small bag where you can put all of your new stuff in so that you're not cramming anything, or even worse, have to leave something behind because you can't fit it into your luggage. Continuing on the shoe suggestion, I also suggest that you bring some comfortable shoes to change into after your races. So whether this is another pair of sneakers or maybe even a recovery shoe, I actually chose OOFOS, the recovery sandals, and I highly suggest them. This video absolutely is not sponsored by them, although I wish, but they were absolutely amazing and they saved my feet after the marathon and after actually each race. As soon as I finished each race, I threw on my OOFOS, and that's what I wore the entire rest of the weekend. So another thing I suggest that you do is that you bring a foam roller. So this is the one that I chose to bring, and this is small, it's from Trigger Point, and I just threw this into my checked luggage. But I really think that this saved my legs, especially in the half to full transition. So before and after every single race, I made sure to roll out my legs, and it was painful. I felt it was also unnecessary after the 5 and 10K, but I did it anyways, and I really think that this made a huge difference. So highly suggest that you bring one of these. So now moving on to the week of, you are all packed, you are in Orlando, and you are ready to run your races. So during this week, it's really important that, one, you go to the expo and make sure that you take care of all the logistics that's necessary, but also that you just soak it in. Make sure that you take a lot of photos, maybe grab some commemorative items, but just make sure that you soak in the expo and really enjoy this experience. So my next tip is for you to lay out all of your clothes the night before. So that means clothes, shoes, any accessories that you have. Trust me, there's going to be a million things running through your head in addition to all the excitement that is around. So if you can just make your mornings even more easier by not even having to think about what to put on, I highly suggest it. This also includes anything that you need in a gear check bag. I only checked something after the full marathon, so if you do need a gear check bag, just make sure that you have that prepped the night before as well. Also make sure that you're eating early and getting to bed early. It's going to be pretty difficult to get some sleep, especially in the earlier days after the 5 and 10K, because you feel excited. Also, you're not as tired as you may be after the half marathon. So make sure that you're getting to bed really early and at least having your body rest and relax before the race. During the expo, one of the vendors were actually giving this out. So it says, "Shh, runner is sleeping, quiet please." So I was able to hang this on the front of my door, and I really think it made a difference. There were a lot of kids that were staying near my room, which is, I mean, we're at Disney, it's totally fine. But they have a tendency to scream, which is also fine. But when you are trying to get some sleep before a full marathon, that can be a little bit difficult. So just having a nice little sign, just a nice reminder that, you know, they do have a friendly neighbor that needs to get some sleep, I think was really helpful, and I could definitely hear some parents shushing their kids, which I very much appreciated. Also, limit park time. I hate to say it, and I hate to be the one to say it, but limit park time. I personally only went to the parks to take photos after each race, and I also limited rides to only rides I could get a fast pass to, or if I had a restaurant reservation. Those were the only times that I was in the parks. Not because I didn't want to be there, but because I knew I had to save my legs. You have to save your legs. And if you're running dopey or goofy, then that is not the time to be exploring all the parks and riding all of the rides. Just limit yourself as much as you can, because any time off your legs will be helpful and very much wanted the morning of the marathon. So I also suggest taking an Epsom salt bath after every race. So as soon as I got back into my room, I made sure to foam roll. Then I took an Epsom salt bath. So you can do this either directly after the race or maybe as you're winding down for the night. But I really think that that helped save my legs. It also gives you an opportunity just to stretch and relax, and get a little bit of heat onto your legs, which I personally find a little bit more helpful than ice baths. So You're welcome to do ice baths as well, but I really thought that Epsom salt baths helped me a lot more than the ice baths did. Also have some breakfast items in your room. Have some food in your room so that you're not constantly needing to actually leave your room in order to get food. Also helps you in the morning. So I specifically had some Gatorade in my fridge. I also had English muffins and peanut butter. So before every race, I would just make sure that I had a little bit to eat. We are going to Disney, so we never know how the lines will be. We never know how things will happen in the morning. So you don't want to plan on eating at the race, and something happens, like you get there late, your bus, maybe gets lost, or the line for food is too long. So just make sure that you have something in your room that is easily accessible and you can easily put it together in the morning, and you'll have your breakfast there. Okay, so now on to the part where you guys are probably most nervous about. This is at least where I was most nervous about, and that's the transition from the half marathon to the full marathon. So I think this is probably the most important transition during this entire weekend. The key here is to make sure that you take the half marathon slow. Take it easy. You are not doing this for time. So just make sure that you are enjoying your half marathon. You're not stressing out about it too much. Don't stress out too much about the full marathon the next day, but really enjoy your experience. Take it slow and just really soak it in. You've woken up for 3 early mornings. You are running these races, and a lot of people don't even get to have this experience. So I would definitely give yourself a moment to ground yourself, to calm your nerves, and then go into the race and have a PR and fun. And by PR and fun, I mean make sure that you are enjoying it. Make sure that you are not trying to race this thing to the end, trying to get a PR in time. So make sure that you get a PR and fun. Take it easy, take it slow. This was actually the first race that I have ever walked a solid 2 miles. I told myself I started out too fast. I was really excited, and I said, no, I have to stop. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill my legs for tomorrow. So I made myself stop and walk for 2 miles. So I normally get probably about 2:10 to 2:15 time on my half marathon. And for Dopey, I think my time was probably 3:15 or so. So I added a full hour onto my time. And that was intentional. I wanted to make sure that I was, one, enjoying the race, that two, I was not going too fast. That's what's really going to make the biggest impact on your full marathon, is what you do during your half marathon. So you may be feeling really great. It might be the perfect weather. You may, see someone that's running really fast and you want to run with them, but just make sure that you're pacing yourself. Make sure that you are saving yourself for the full marathon. In the transition from the half to the full, it's also extremely important to get off your feet after the race. So as soon as that half marathon is over, take your photos, eat your breakfast, but get off of your feet. So transition into those recovery shoes. Make sure that you are maybe, laying around the hotel pool or just in your room enjoying something that's on TV or spending some time with your friends and family. But stay out of the park. I actually did not go to the park this day, and it absolutely killed me not to do so. The only thing that I did the day of the half marathon was I went to Disney Springs. That's where my dining reservation was. That's where I took photos. Again, I did not go into the park at all the day of the half marathon. Also make sure that you're foam rolling. Also make sure that you're taking your Epsom salt bath. And one additional thing that I did, because I'm telling you guys, I was really, really nervous from the transition from the half to the full, super nervous. So I actually signed up for cryotherapy. So for those that don't know what that is, it is where you get into a chamber and they freeze you, and I think the temperature is something like negative 200 degrees or something. It's absolutely freezing, and the point of it is to it heals your body. I can't even explain what it does, but what all I knew was that it was supposed to help my muscles. I needed to make sure that I was able to run not only a full marathon, but my first full marathon. So I signed up for cryotherapy. There was a local shop in Orlando where I actually got a Groupon for, and I went. I think overall, I wouldn't say that it's necessary. I think my Epsom salt bath, I think my foam rolling was more than enough. I went into the cryotherapy spa with, I'd say, maybe about a 4.5 out of 10 pain level. So not even, pretty much in pain. I didn't really have too much muscle soreness, but I wanted that 4.5 gone. And I'd say I walked out of there with probably maybe like a 1.5 pain. So it definitely helped. It definitely did something to my muscles. But again, it's not necessary. It's me being absolutely crazy and signing up for that. I'm also a chicken when it comes to the cold, so I'll probably never do it again. But just putting it out there that I did cryotherapy in between the half and the full. It was a good experience. I think it did help, but I don't think it would help to the fact where that made a huge difference on my performance or enjoyment of the full marathon. Also, be sure to get a good night's sleep. This is probably going to be one of the hardest nights to sleep because that's, at least for me, that's all I could think about. I had some lavender spray that I sprayed everywhere. Just a little bit of everything that said it'll put you to sleep. I just wanted to make sure that I had a really, really good night's sleep. I was able to fall asleep, but I woke up probably 30 minutes or so before my alarm was supposed to go off. And we all know how early those alarms are. So I think get as much sleep as you can. Just try to rest and relax as much as you can. Again, make sure that everything is laid out so that you don't even have to think about what to wear, what to get dressed in. Make sure that you're foam rolling and stretching. Make sure that you eat something, and make sure that you make it to the race on time. So the day of the half marathon, I actually signed up for Runner Square. So this was the first year that they offered Runner Square, and I think it was a good experience. I mostly did it because it was my first marathon. I never actually did Race Retreat, so I wanted to experience something and just really commemorate my experience, not only Dopey, but again, my first marathon. So I signed up for Runner Square, and again, it's one of those things where it's a personal decision. I wouldn't highly suggest it, but I wouldn't say, no, don't sign up for it, it's not worth it. I think financially, it is not worth it if you add up all the costs that are involved in your experience. So the cost of breakfast, food, and coffee, a little treat that you get afterwards. No, it does not actually add up to the cost that you're paying, but I do feel like it helped in a couple of different ways. So I actually got there pretty early. So one of the big selling factors for me was being able to get to my corral early. I'm one that likes to be early when I'm anxious. So it was the morning of the full marathon. I wanted to make sure that everything was smooth and clear. I'm getting there early. So what I did was I arrived early. I had my breakfast. I had my coffee. I relaxed, said hello to some folks, and I was actually one of the first few people to walk out to my corral. So it was me and maybe 3 other people that were in Corral D, and we were the only people there for probably maybe 15 or even 20 minutes. So that was really helpful, and that helped my anxiety for sure because I knew I was there. I was sitting on the ground. I was stretching. I was just really getting zen and talking to a couple other runners that were there as well. So it definitely was helpful for just, again, like anxious feelings, but also excitement. Again, it's up to you guys if you want to do Runner Square or not. It was also really helpful to have a place to go after the race. So after the race, and this is another tip of mine, make sure that you have a plan. So my plan was Race Retreat. or again, Runner Square. So I had a place to go. I had food that was waiting for me. I had water and other types of electrolyte-based drinks that were ready for me. So that was really, really helpful just to have a place to go because, again, your mind, you're going to be on a high. You just ran a full marathon. You just ran dopey or goofy. So you want to make sure that you have a place to go, to rest, to relax, to reset. And so Runner Square was a really, really great place for me to go after the race. So I hope those tips were helpful for you. Definitely leave a comment below if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer any and all of them. And I will be rooting for all of you throughout your training. Definitely keep me updated. Tag me in your training photos. I would love to see them, and best of luck. This will be yours soon.